Well, hello there, and welcome back. I know that I've completely broken my intention promise of releasing regular videos on the update and the development of this project. A lot of things happened, so yeah, this is my kind of forgive me video, but also I'm going to show you a lot of things that I've been working on and what is the status of the project. So let me explain first why I took so long. Well, on one side, there's a lot of changes, personal life, my own schedules that made it difficult to come up with more videos and also to work on the project. But also at some point during January, I was finding myself uh, with a kind of resistance of working on this. And then I analyzed a little bit why I was resistant working on this. And then it started to become a little bit more aware that I was having some doubts on the direction and maybe the results that I was getting, and if this was a good way to go. I was maybe a little bit demotivated. So when that happens, I usually, even if it's not a conscious behavior, I kind of tend to put work to the side a little bit because I felt like if I'm going to put hours into this, I'll probably have to in the future redo the things that I've done before, and it would just be a waste of time. So I have decided to, okay, when this became a more conscious thing for me, I decided, okay, first I need to address the problem. Why am I resisting this? What is the issue? Why is it blocking? Why is it in a blocking state right now? So I realized that uh, the results I was getting from my analyzer and the repeated memories and the whole thing about how the structure was fitting in, something was not right, and I had to think and sleep on it for a few days, try different things, redo them, retrying a lot of times until I got to a new point where things are working much smoothly now. Also, uh, it is a bit different when you are starting this project, and when I recorded the first videos, it was just a few weeks old. I had very little data in terms of storage of memory of messages. So as that data began to grow, new problems started to show up, and things started to break here and there, and was not, working so well. So really, I had to take time to rethink a few things, try a few things, explore new ideas. It's not that it changed so much, but I changed and I made a few new things. It's working better than it was before. It's more robust, I think, and also I have a lot of new ideas that I want to try. So I am here in a new place today. I'm taking, today's Friday, and I'm taking these 2 days until Sunday morning as a kind of a personal retreat to relax and think and also just enjoy time in nature a little bit. But of course, I want to take advantage of it, of this alone time, and also put a few hours of work into this project. So today in this video, I'm going to update you on what changed, a few new things that I've added, what I'm going to be working next. And Sunday, before I leave this place, I'm going to record a second video with the work that I've did in these 2 days, what changed and what's new and what's coming next. And then after that, I hope I resume a regular schedule again. Okay, so in order for me not to forget anything, I made this kind of guideline. Um, so this was the summary. This is where we are right now. One thing that I was hoping, if you remember, of course, the project has this idea that we have the edit mode to quickly change the messages which are going to be exported. So the exporter is working absolutely fine. I did a few changes to it as well. And then the idea is that on a regular basis, which is to be defined, I will fine tune all these exported data into new models, and then I'll use these models instead of using the base models with a lot of prompting and shots. So I was hoping that when I was reaching the 100 or so examples samples in my JSON files for fine tuning, it will be enough, but actually it was far from enough. So I did the first fine-tuning when I reached 100 and something samples, both in the analyzer and in the talker component, so the one that does the chatting. And the result was really, really bad. It was just a lot of messy output. So I kind of put that idea aside for a while, and now I'm waiting to reach 200 samples. When I get to 200 samples, I will try the fine-tuning again, and hopefully by that time I will get a little bit more maybe usable state of these new models. I hope so, because right now it's a bit frustrating that I have to tinker so much with the prompts, a lot of changing the structure and seeing in what way it works best. The analyzer prompt is huge because I have to give it so many samples, because the analyzer needs to do so much in terms of extracting memories, extracting dates. I'm going to talk about that in a while. Not repeating memories. So I give it a lot of examples and still it doesn't work as good as it should, because it's just based on those examples. So I'm hoping that when I finally do the fine-tuning with a lot of samples, it will start working well. So as of today, let me see, I have 167, which is not bad, but I'm hoping that during this weekend I'll get to 200, and maybe on Sunday I'll try another fine-tune and see how it goes. So that's a small update on the fine-tuning. So what changed in the analyzer? The analyzer is right now the biggest part, the most difficult part of this project. And I have also kind of in the back of my mind the idea that I may at some point have to like branch out this project and in parallel try a completely new approach to this, because the way I'm doing things might not work out in the end. So it's a risk. We have to try a lot of things and maybe it won't work out. I don't know. So let's recap. If you remember last time I showed you this, let me take this out. I show you this small diagram of how things are working. So the user inputs a message, the analyzer identifies the action or the intent of what should I do with this message. Based on that, it will identify new memories that need to be saved. So if I say, remind me to buy bread tomorrow, it will identify a new memory, which is I must remind Nuno to buy bread tomorrow. So after that is done, it's passed to the memorizer, which will pick up related memories with this. So anything that's related with this intention, action to what the user said, those memories are going to be retrieved based on a scoring algorithm, and then they'll be injected into the final prompt for the talker, which will generate the chat response. So this had issues. And the biggest issue here was that this part conflicted with this part. In what sense? So because it's picking up the context of the conversation, the user input, but also the previous messages, a few of them, it doesn't know that maybe you already picked up a new memory to be saved, 2 messages ago. So if I say, remember me to buy bread tomorrow, it identifies that as a new memory. And then it says, okay, I will remind you. And then I say, okay, thank you. But in that, okay, thank you, the context is, please remember to buy bread tomorrow. So it will again identify a new memory to be saved, which was already saved. So I ended up with a lot of repeated memories all the time. And it's not serious when you think that the memories will be joined when they are similar. I have that part done. Memories which are very similar will be summarized and joined into one, but it's not efficient. And then there's the problem of the cost. So joining memories is an extra prompt, an extra call to the OpenAI API. And I wanted to avoid this as much as possible. Another thing that I didn't like it was this identify action. Most of the times this was completely useless. So I would say, good morning, Armin. And the action was greet Nuno. And then he would say hi. And this kind of made it very pointless for me. So I thought, okay, if these large language models can actually parse and somehow infer meaning from what is being said, then identifying the action might be a little bit redundant and we might not need this at all. So I changed this. I inverted the order to which this is done, and now this is how it works. We first pick up the user input, the conversation as a context, and we inject the memories right away, what we have already in store. And this is done in 3 steps, or from 3 different ways to approach what are memories related with this. I'll explain this in a bit. Then with those existing memories, we skip this identify action. We don't need this at all. And so far, I think this works fine. Then we identify new memories to be saved. So based on the existing memories and the user input and with the conversation, now I try to identify new memories. So because he already knows that he has to remind me to buy bread tomorrow, he won't again repeat the same memory I have to remember Nuno to buy bread tomorrow, because that memory is already there and he knows it's there. While in this case, this only came after, so he had no idea that that memory already existed. So it repeated a lot. So I found out that this works much better, and it didn't solve the problem completely. There's still a lot of repetition. I don't know exactly why he still repeats it, but it solved in part. So it's at least some progress is done. Then we have another advantage here, because this is all local, right? This is all, I don't do any API calls here for OpenAI. This is all local things with my embeddings and my database. Then the API call is here. And then we chain these right away with the talker, which is another API call. So what I thought is, because this is chained together with nothing in between, I may have a possibility in the future of changing this and making these two become just one. So instead of having one API call for the analyzer, one API call for the talker, I would actually just put them together so that in one prompt I will get the new memories and the final response right away, because the data is all there. The memories have been injected, the prompt, the conversation context is there. So this might actually work much better, at least in terms of speed, it'll work much better, because it's just 2 API calls instead of, just 1 API call instead of 2, which is quite slow at the moment. So I think this is something I want to explore, but I need to change the code a little bit, and the export of the data has to change a little bit because the prompt will change. So it's not a quick change, but I think it's something that I will definitely want to try. But I will try it only after I have the fine-tuning working, because I must make sure that the fine-tuning data is enough for the new models to pick up the structure that I want. Otherwise, when I put them both together and it doesn't work, I don't know exactly if it's the analyzer part which is not working well, if it's the talker part. So I want to make sure that first separately the fine-tuning is working fine, and then we'll try to put them together and see how it goes. So another big thing is parsing date and time. So this is related with one thing that I want to include. I will talk about this in a later video, not during this weekend, because this is something that really interests me. Because remember, I talked about in my first video or the second video that the main purpose of this project, besides of all the research and exploration of AI, is actually to build a useful personal assistant. This is my main purpose with this, and I wanted to be capable of having a reminder system, a note-taking system, but without hard coding all of that. So the easy way to do this would be, okay, remind me to do this, this, and this. And then it will identify the intent to save a reminder. I parse that intent. I save it in my reminders table. All of that, this will work fine. But this is not what I want, because this is not emulating how a mind works. So I want to really emulate how a mind works. And this has been really a fun process for me, because I end up just realizing how much more I'm thinking. How do I remember things? How do I think about things? So it's a lot of fun, because we end up analyzing a lot how our own minds work. So one of the important things for this was to parse date and time for these reminders. I will talk about them later. But so picture this. If I say, okay, tomorrow I want to buy bread, and the memory that the AI identifies is Nunu wants to buy bread tomorrow. This looks okay. But in fact, if 1 month from now I talk about bread and that memory pops up and then he says, oh, you wanted to buy bread tomorrow, that's completely wrong because it's not tomorrow. It was 1 month ago tomorrow. So we need to parse everything that's related with date and time. We need to identify daytime words or expressions and replace them with real timestamps. So if I say remind me to buy bread tomorrow, and today is the 10th of February, I want that memory to be remind Nunu to buy bread on the 11th of February, right? So things like tomorrow, last Sunday, in the morning, later today, all these expressions have to be parsed and converted into real dates and times, right? Because I think that's the fun part of analyzing how our mind works. Because if I think next Monday I will do this, this, and this, I don't think that our memory is actually Monday. There is the Monday there, but there is the association of maybe 3 days time or the 13th of February. So all these associations are there that allow us to link things together, not just the Monday, right? But it's a really fun thing because it really we really start to wonder, if you think about this for a minute, how do you have this concept of time, the kind of a space of time in your head? And many people visualize time in different ways. So it's very funny to think about all these things. So this is one thing that I started doing, and it's working fine. Let me show you, let me give an example so it's not just about talking. So let's say that remind me on Sunday to take the garbage out. Okay, so today is the 10th, Sunday is the 12th, and I want this memory to be saved with a specific date timestamp. As you can see, this takes a lot because it's going to the analyzer first, the response coming back, then the response is generated. Okay, and so in this case, he actually told me how he's saved. Sometimes he doesn't. He just says, okay, I'll remind you on Sunday. This time he actually said the date. And if we go to the meta-analysis, so these are the memories that were injected, so it's quite a lot of stuff. And here is the new, so the section of new memories that were stored. Remind Nunu to take the garbage out on the 14th of February. So we converted that datetime expression into a specific datetime, which is more like computer formatted dates. So if this memory is again referred in the future, if I talk about, show me what I should remember for Sunday, but I'm talking about, if I'm talking in 1 week from now, this memory will probably show up because there's a link with Sunday and reminder. So there is some meaning which is the same, but because the date is off, and he will infer that the meaning, things don't match. So he will not pick up this in 1 week from now, although the memory might be injected into the prompt. Okay, so that's there. And retrieving and injecting memory. So I made a few changes in this. Just a second. So I was retrieving memories mostly from the, I think, 4 or 5 last messages. I was picking the whole text, last 4 or 5 messages between the user and the AI, and then doing the embedding search, the semantic search, finding the top and scoring memories, and then injecting those. So there were a few problems with this. Many times there were important memories that were excluded because of the nature of those messages. And also when I introduced these datetime things, I needed to do also a little bit more of search in terms of datetime related memories. So right now I have a little bit different way to inject memories. I go and pick them up from 3 different places or from 3 different approaches to search for them. And then I combine them. And of course I remove duplicates because they may find the same memory in in more than one approach. So at most I will have 10, 5, 5, 20 different memories in each prompt, not more than that. This is something that I will also experiment. Maybe I can put more memories. I don't know at what point, after which point it will start, maybe being too much or not. I'll have to experiment. Right now, we have this. So the first 10 are being selected from the last n messages of the conversation. And I think this n right now is about 6. So the last 6 messages in the conversation between user and AI, but it includes the most recent summary of the conversation. So this gives a lot of context to what has been happening in the conversation, because we may pick up important messages from there, which are not necessarily in the last n messages. Okay. Then I'm going to pick up 5 memories which are related with the last user input. So the very last message that the user typed, I'm going to search for memories just with that. Now, this is of course included in number 1. Okay, so this is included in 1, but now I'm giving just priority to this one. And this is important because if you suddenly change subject, so if I'm talking about AI, blah, 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 whatever, then suddenly let's talk about football, or remind me what was the top scorer of the World Cup this year. And if I pick up the last n messages plus the summary, the whole meaning is going to have a weight that is very far from the last message. So now I'm giving priority just to that last message and picking up at least 5 memories from there. Of course, limiting to a certain threshold. So if the memories are not under have at least a minimum score, they won't be used. So I pick up 5 from these messages. And of course, one thing that I introduced here was to ignore very short sentences, because sometimes you say just okay, or that works, thank you, see you tomorrow, whatever. Those kind of messages I try to ignore and don't select any memories from there. And then the last is to find memories which are not related with any of the input, but related with the date today, now. So I pick up, I create a specific format of the date with the weekday and the month and the year, and I try to find memories with that. Then I filter out, I remove memories that are too far away in the future or in the past. And by far away, I mean, I think it's 7 days later or 7 days before today. So I take those out. So only things that are kind of very near today will be included here. So this will give also context of things, events that are important to remember, right? So I think we also do that. We kind of have presence, we have these thoughts bubbling up in our minds of things that are happening today or tomorrow, or that happened yesterday. They are present in our minds. So I want this to be also present in the AI mind, in every input, in every prompt. So this is what I do now. We pick up all these, put them together, remove duplicates, and then inject them into the prompt. So that's more or less what is happening now with the analyzer. It still has a lot of flaws, which are sometimes a little bit frustrating. I'm really hoping that the fine-tuning will help me remove any flaws, because the prompt is huge and still doesn't work so well. Anyway, today, let me show you what are my plans right now. And this is a lot of stuff, so don't worry about this. I'm just going through this so that I don't forget. So my plan now for today is basically to do the records, specific records in the database for summary of memories and the summary of the conversations. So although I'm storing the summaries there, I'm not storing the process of summarization. So I want that when 2 memories are summarized, I have the inputs and I have the output. And when a summary of the conversation is done, I want to have the input of the conversation and the output as well, because this will help me to export that data and then fine-tune specific models for summarizing memories and summarizing conversations. Because I have noticed that when I'm summarizing memories, sometimes it leaves important details out of a specific memory, which is not good. And also, I also have to fine tune it or reorder the way the memories are there in that prompt a little bit, because if the memories have conflicting information, like if it says I'm going to do this, and then if it says no, I'm going to do that, and that's a conflict, sometimes the wrong memory prevails, and I want that the most recent memory always prevail. So we need to fine tune this a little bit, playing with the dates of the memories or the language, so that whenever there's a conflict, the right memory is used for the summary. Then I want to do a console command, so an interactive console command that will just show me one by one in an interactive way all the memories that can be summarized and joined together. I will be able to approve that summarization and joining live, or reject it and edit it. So this is something that will help me to keep track, because I don't want this to happen in the background without my supervision, because like I said, sometimes they are joined in the bad way and then it messes up the memories, and it's not good. So I want to do this manually for now, semi-manually, but I will do it in just a shell terminal command, because I don't want to bother building another interface here. It's not worth it. One thing I want to experiment is doing bigger summaries, so more messages in the summary before I trigger the summarization. If you remember from last time, we have the prompt history, and then I send the last 6, more or less, depending on the size of the messages. Then we inject the summary, and then another 6, and we go step by step doing this. So I want to experiment with a longer chat history before I trigger the summarizer, because I want to try the summarizer to hold more information instead of just one paragraph, and then try to have that conversation to span out a little bit longer before having another summarization. This is again another thing that I want to try and see if it works best or not. So it's a lot of trial and error here. And then there is the joining of the analyzer and the talker in the same prompt and the same export, but this will come later. So, and then later after that, creating the fine-tune flow to very easily do fine-tunes. Right now I'm still doing it the old-fashioned way by console commands. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to get my hands on and then start working on this. Like I said, hopefully Sunday I will have a lot of new things to show, and yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm excited to try all these new things, and it's been a really fun process so far, with its ups and downs as usual. So thanks for watching. I hope this video was not too long, but yeah, it's been such a long time. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up later.